Two teams that find themselves in a similar position at the World Cup, having lost their opening encounters. Afghanistan taking on Sri Lanka. Afghanistan, remember, put a good account of themselves versus Australia, but went down by 7 wickets to the defending world champions. On the other hand, you had the Sri Lankan team completely capitulated versus a seam attack of a New Zealand fast bowlers, losing that game by 10 wickets. Who's going to come out on tops? We're talking about game number 7 here at Cricket World Cup 2019. You are watching ESPN Cricinfo Match Day. I am Nikhil Naz, and we have a full house here in the studio. With me, our regular Daren Ganga, but his partner in crime, Murli Karthik, is missing because he must have put his feet up in that first class, business class, whatever ticket he has, taking all the way to England, enjoying the action from right there, from ground zero. What that has done is forced Ajit Agarkar out of his long extended holiday. Have you been enjoying the World Cup?
Yeah, slow start, but it's picked up as you would expect. I love the format, so hopefully we'll just keeps getting better.
All right. Also joining me, my colleague Anubhav Jain joins me with the social corner. We'll get to him. Also joining us live from Sri Lanka, former captain, opening batsman. We've got Dilshan joining us. Dilshan, I'll come to you. Ordinarily, whenever you looked at this game, Afghanistan versus Sri Lanka, you'd have to say that it probably is the best opportunity for Sri Lanka to register their first win at this World Cup. But I'm just looking at the form that these two teams have come up with. Are you a bit worried then for Sri Lanka, looking at the way how Afghanistan played versus Australia and how Sri Lanka played then versus New Zealand? Right. Okay, Dilshan, I don't think can hear me at the moment. I'll throw that question to Daren. As I said, usually, traditionally, if you had seen Sri Lanka versus Afghanistan, you would have said, okay, that's a great chance for Sri Lanka. Not quite the same now. Probably we'll get a humdinger. Are you expecting that?
Well, I mean, I think it will be a competitive match. It wouldn't be a one-sided affair. If you look at the head-to-head battles between these two teams in ODI cricket, Sri Lanka 2, Afghanistan 1, and that one win was in 2018 in Abu Dhabi when they won by a huge margin. I think it was 91 runs. So
yes.
You can't underestimate this Afghan team. I think what Sri Lanka doesn't have going for them is the fact that they've only won, one match in the last 15 matches they've played against test-playing nations. So in terms of form, not in the best of form, and I think post-2015 World Cup, this Sri Lankan team is the only team that has lost the most number of ODI matches. So that's a stat that will not go in their favor. But we've seen many success stories like Pakistan recently against England, a streak of losses, and they're able to counter it with a commanding performance. I think the Sri Lankan team has the sort of mental aptitude and the potential to do so. It's not a very, I would say, informed Afghanistan team. Yes, they're a good side, but I think in terms of reputation, you would think that Sri Lanka has what it takes to beat this opposition.
Interesting that Daren talks about the ODI record of both these teams. We're taking a look at since the last World Cup, that's 2015, and here you have it. Afghanistan has played 64 matches there, having won 53% of those games. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, have played 86. 27 is their win percent. But just to play the devil's advocate, you'd have to say that Afghanistan played plenty of those games versus associate countries and not necessarily one-day powerhouses.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's a reason for those numbers. Or as skewed as they are, but Sri Lanka's numbers are not great, which is the problem. Okay, Afghanistan might have played slightly weaker teams, but you've got to see the progress that Afghanistan have made. That they are one of the stronger teams out of the associate nations. They're a test-playing nation now. So you know what you're going to get from Afghanistan. You're not quite sure how well Sri Lanka can sort of pick themselves up after that loss against New Zealand. I think it's a huge game for Sri Lanka. Not so much for Afghanistan. Yes, Afghanistan would ideally love a win. But Sri Lanka, who you would in normal circumstances expect to beat Afghanistan, it's a big game for them because it's not as straightforward as they would like.
All right, we're expecting the toss very soon. We'll also have the playing 11s a little later in our program. But for the moment, we'll turn our attention to the best dressed guy that we've got in the studio. Sorry, Ajit and Daren, and that is my colleague here, Anubhav. Is the social media also buzzing as much as that pink tie that you've got there?
Thank you so much for the compliment, Nikhil. I've learned from the best in the business, the three of you. Welcome back to the social corner, which unlike some other corners of the world, which can be gloomy and quiet, is always buzzing with activity. We're going to kick things off with Ian Bishop, a tweet from Ian Bishop that I think perfectly sums up Pakistani cricket. And I'm going to read this out verbatim, very unapologetically, just so that I can preserve the essence of this tweet. Ian Bishop says, lose 4-0 to the world's #1 team coming into the World Cup. Get demolished by a team that had to qualify for the World Cup in your first game. Lose your last 11 completed ODIs and then take down the #1 ranked team next game. Never write off Pakistan. Now, if that doesn't sum up Pakistani cricket, I do not know what does. Up next, we've got Imran Khan, Pakistani Prime Minister and the 1992 World Cup winning captain, who congratulated the Pakistani team. And according to Imran, it's that lethal concoction of talent and self-belief that can take Pakistan all the way. From one flamboyant Pakistani to another in Shoaib Akhtar, who shows us this image from yesterday's encounter. And Shoaib believes that it's this image that exemplifies the passion and the energy that's needed from Pakistan. Onwards and upwards from here on is what Shoaib says. Daren, I'm going to come to you on this. Yesterday, we spoke about the Twitter exchange between Shoaib and Kevin. Fair to say that now with Pakistan one-upping England, Shoaib holds the bragging rights?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you can defeat a team that has the tagline for being the favorite in a World Cup, especially when you've gone through a period of not getting success in one-day cricket, you can blow your trumpet a bit. And the manner in which they've done it, I think Pakistan deserves all the credit. They've got a rich legacy as a cricketing nation, and this can be the turning point for them and their form in this World Cup.
Brilliant. From the victor to the vanquished, we've got a stat that won't make England fans too happy. So England became the first team yesterday to lose a World Cup match despite having 2 centurions in their innings. Now, something that might please England fans is the fact that the first 100 of the last 3 World Cups were scored by a player belonging to the side that eventually went on to lift the cup. Ajit, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Just based upon this trend that we've seen over the past 3 World Cups, would you take a punt on England winning the World Cup?
I think England can hang on to anything they can get at the moment. No, I felt in spite of, I think in the field England weren't great yesterday, very sloppy, whether it was in the field or with the ball. But you could see the strength in their batting in spite of losing all those wickets. So they're clearly one of the favourites. I mean, in spite of that loss to Pakistan, Pakistan were exceptional on the day. But you know this England team is going to turn it around. They'd be hoping that's the case. It's happened thrice, so you can't write that off. England, look, they are. I mean, I'd be very surprised if they don't make the semi-finals.
Lovely. And while the Pakistani team has already experienced a reversal of fortunes in this year's World Cup, the Indian team, I beg your pardon, is yet to kick off its World Cup campaign. Here's a picture of Virat Kohli and his boys having a top session at the gym as they await the first encounter against South Africa on Wednesday. And we're going to conclude proceedings with the evergreen Sanjay Manjrekar, who says that despite having 100 TV channels, none of them are showing the Cricket World Cup, which is funny given the fact that the football season's well and fully over as well.
Sanjay. Change your hotel.
Isn't he supposed to be at the ground?
I believe
he's a rich man. He can clearly afford some sort of an OTP platform there. Watch it online. There are plenty of those available.
He probably had the day off yesterday. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for that. I'd like you to do an exercise. You know, you spoke about the Pakistani former players talking on social media. We'd love to see, for the next time that you're here, do a comparison of the tweets that they had before Pakistan played their game and after the Pakistan game that they won. You'll see it's not just the Pakistan team that's had a turnaround, it's their opinion as well. I'm not taking any names there, but you must go and see what the Pakistan former players were saying after Pakistan lost that first match that they had. For the moment, we'll turn our attention to that 22 yards. How's the pitch going to play out? We've got the pitch report for you live there. All right, but for our ESPN Cricinfo viewers, we're continuing with our coverage right now. What we're getting to here, Ajit, it's going to be the same strip where we saw the New Zealand fast bowlers really dominate. You'd like to see both teams make changes then and bring in a few quick bowlers into their 11 then?
I'm not sure. I mean, depends. It looks like there's going to be a bit of rain around to the course of the day, so that'll play a part in their thinking as well. I don't know. I mean, you want to load your team with seamers just because I think if you have good, your top 3 don't do the job for you. I mean, if you load 4 or 5, whether it's going to help, I'm not sure. I think it's the batting that'll have to step up if the conditions do or are like the one New Zealand Sri Lanka played on. From all, I mean, there is a bit of grass, but from all sort of news that we get, it's not as green as it was in that first game. So, no, I don't think. I think you still pick your best 5 bowlers, and if they happen to be seam bowlers, then that's the way it is. is the batting. I think both the teams need to bat better than they have in their first game.
A quick word, because we talk about the conditions and it might just rain, you'd rather want to bat second here. You'd know if there's a reduced target of sorts.
Yeah, the average first innings score in the last 5 matches at this venue, just about 240, way lower than what we've seen from a Nottingham and maybe at the Oval. So that alone shows that scoring runs is challenging, and that's because of the conditions, the pitch as well, a little bit of grass. So there will be lateral movement. I think you've got to make the adjustment for it. As a batting team, it's not going to be difficult if you put runs on the board, but I think teams prefer to bat and chase a target score.
All right, we'll have to wait and watch what is it that happens once the toss takes place. But for the moment, we had the pitch report. Ian Bishop with that, plenty of grass there. We'll take a short break, plenty more on the other side. All right, we'll keep talking about that pitch report that we just heard from Ian Bishop there. The only difference I saw from the one that where Sri Lanka were all out for 136, not as much grass. I mean, we saw 8-9 mm of grass, a bit of maybe, wear and tear after that one game that they played.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's rolled better. I think also what is the big difference in England is the overhead conditions. I think you can talk about the pitch all day long, but as soon as the overhead conditions change, there is always that little bit of swing on offer, a little bit more nip of the pitch, and that is what makes the difference. I mean, there may not be grass at times on the pitch, and it can still give you that assistance. So the overhead conditions sometimes dictate a lot. I mean, like Daren has just said, the average score is not a lot on this ground. Tells you that there is something on offer. Maybe the pitch is on the slower side at times a little bit, which makes scoring a bit difficult. So it's one of those wickets where you can't go and say, we've got to get a 300. Maybe assess as you go along. And Sri Lanka would be hoping it doesn't seem as much as it did in that first game that they played.
All right, all out for 136 is what Sri Lanka got there. Funny, we're just continuing to talk about the bowling, but it's really the batting that's going to be tested here in this particular encounter, because we've seen with Cardiff, low-scoring games is the order of the day. We'll take a short break now, finally, but plenty more on the other side.
Very difficult to pick this because there are so many legends and their performances can't be forgotten. Considering it deep and giving it a lot of thought, I've also gone with the fact that who's had most impact with their performances, and I've come up with my 11. Hard to look beyond Sachin Tendulkar and Sanath Jayasuriya to open the batting. Plenty of runs, winning performances, and also great impact which people remember and will remember for many years more. At 3, I have Kumar Sangakkara, who will also keep wickets for me. He's been very consistent. He scored a mountain of runs and back-to-back hundreds as well, 4 in fact. Ricky Ponting, very successful captain, and again plenty of runs off his bat and consistently too. He'll be my captain. Aravinda De Silva's impact in World Cup cricket also cannot be forgotten, so he'll bat at number 5 for me. He also bowls, so remember that he picked up many wickets in the time that he played. At 6 and 7, go a little bit beyond Javed Miandad, the quality of that man, and then Vivian Richards, one of the greatest ever. He fits in at number 7. And also remember, I've got to try and balance this team, have all options covered. All-rounder Kapil Dev, one of the best in the business, seeming opening bowler who'll swing that ball for me. He'll bat at 8. Then there's Chaminda Vaas of Sri Lanka, and Shane Warne as the spinner. He pips Muttaya Muralidharan. And number 11 is my speedster. I want some extra pace, and he deserves his place because of his performances as well. Brett Lee, he caps off my World Cup 11.
Something easier? Put your tipping to the test. Play Cricket Picks, the new predictor game from ESPN Cricinfo. Go to espncricinfo.com.
Welcome back to ESPN Cricinfo Match Day. We're building up to game number 7. It is toss time. It's going to be a very, very crucial toss based on the game that we've seen. Just that one match that has already taken place in Cardiff. Also with the weather around, let's take you for the live action as far as the toss is concerned. Okay, but for our ESPN Cricinfo viewers, we'll continue. We've got T Dilshan, I believe, is back with us. He can hear us rather well. Dilshan, we'll get to know the playing 11 shortly, but remember talking to you a day before, you'd like to see a couple of changes there?
Yeah, definitely. I think we should go extra batsman rather than Jeevan Mendes, Sirivardhana, and I like to go with a genuine spinner. I think it's this Cardiff we are playing second game, second wicket, but not that big difference wicket, I feel. But we need a genuine spinner in the side. I think that's my best 11, 2 changes.
You're still going with a genuine spinner, even though the conditions there on offer would really be helping the fast bowlers, the seamers?
But it's still, when we take the pass, we always play the genuine spin. I think it's always, he take the breakthroughs for us. Past so many years, you know, I am captaining any grass track, we are playing genuine spinner. He's guy take the breakthrough. When fast ball is not doing well, we need a genuine spinner to handle in the middle. Whatever wicket, if you spinners bowl well, especially last 7 months, all the teams with the good leg spinners done the job for the every team. I think we should play leg spinner. Jeffrey Vandesa is, I think, might be good move for Sri Lankan team.
Okay, Daren, he makes a point there. Vandesa, the leg spinner, I'd like to see him there. Can't blame him. Jeevan Mendes playing there didn't seem very effective. Also doesn't have a great record. I was looking at his record.
Yeah, I think he's making that point on the potency of the spinner and that spinner's ability to take wickets, because that is what you want when you play a spinner and a specialist spinner. I don't think they've been able to get the penetration in their bowling. They've got 4 seamers that they played in the last game, so maybe that's a welcome change. I will add variety, but for me, the most important thing will be that batting order, getting that right. Angelo Matthews getting up at number 3.
All right, we'll see if that does happen as far as the batting changes are concerned. We've just seen the toss take place in Cardiff. Okay, welcome back to our viewers who are joining us on television from the Caribbean. We just saw the toss there taking place, and it's Afghanistan that have won the toss and are bowling first. Great toss to win, Ajit, you'd say?
Shocked that they're bowling first. No, look, again, also with the rain around, it gives you a target if you have to chase. If it is a shortened game, hopefully it's not. Hopefully we get all the 100 overs in. Yeah, another challenge for Sri Lanka. I think Afghanistan have a decent attack, even though, you know, their spin is their strength, but they've got some decent seamers. We saw in that last game against Australia. So Sri Lanka will have to bat well. They don't want to lose too many early wickets like they did last time. Otherwise, they'll be up against it again. Okay, we'll take a look at the playing 11 as well. Afghanistan, what I'm getting to know at the moment is they haven't made any changes to their playing 11. Could hear the captain there, Naib, talking about the playing 11. But we'll also got the Sri Lanka playing 11. Let's take a quick look whether they've made any changes. Nuwan Pradeep, now this is something that was expected. Nuwan Pradeep, that's for Jeevan Mendes. He comes in. Of course, they've let go of a spinner and got that fast bowlers. I'll take this across to T Dilshan. This was something that was expected, and also with what Nuwan Pradeep really does is bring in all that experience. You know, you needed that sort of an experience which may have been lacking. You had Suranga Lakmal and Lasith Malinga that time, but Udana, a very inexperienced fast bowler in Sri Lanka. So they've gone with raw pace of Nuwan Pradeep. What do you make of that, Dilshan?
I think I'm not agree for that more change. Thing is, we have a five bowlers pace, including Tisara and Surudana, but we are not doing well in the batting side. I think we are short another batsman now. I think now all the batsmen should take the responsibility and should bat all 50 overs rather than any target. I think it's not good move. I think if I'm captain, I definitely including proper batsman. Thing is, batting unit not doing well at the moment.
You say you're one batsman short because Jeevan Mendes goes out. I'm just looking at his ODI record. Averages 19 in ODI. Do you really think Sri Lanka is going to miss him?
That's why I mentioned not Jeevan Mendes should, Sirivardhan should come to the side. He's done well, pass in back home, in domestic also. He scored a lot of runs past few months. I think that's the move I feel. But Jeevan is not doing well. That number 7 is no point to play number 7. That's why try to include Sirivardhan as a proper batsman. Then all the batsmen have at least confidence. They have until death we have a batting. At the moment we are not doing batting well. That's why I try to mention include one batsman.
Okay, Milind Sirivardhane is what Dilshan is saying should have come in, the left-arm spinner that they have. Also an all-rounder can chip in with the bat too. But what do you make of it? I'll come to you, Daren. They've gone in with their fastest bowler. Clearly the conditions have dictated that.
I agree with Tilkaratne Dilshan because when you look at that last game, Sri Lanka only scoring 136. You look at that batting lineup and what it has produced in the past. Only one player averages in the 40, and that's Angelo Matthews. Apart from him, Teremane, he averages in the 30, and everyone else less than 30. So there is a certain weakness in terms of what that batting has produced in the past. So I could understand wanting to bolster that department of the game for Sri Lanka in bowler-friendly conditions. This encounter, we know the pitch and the average first inning score is quite low in comparison to other pitches. So you want to make sure you put runs on the board and create that balance in your side. You look at the seaming option in the last game against New Zealand. There were 4 seam bowlers who weren't able to get a wicket against New Zealand in that first encounter. So I don't think adding to that complement of fast bowlers is going to make this Sri Lankan team more competitive. I'd rather see an extra batsman in there to bolster that, to give a little more freedom to the likes of Kusal Pereira, Kusal Mendes and these guys, so they don't feel under pressure that they are the ones to put their hands up and score runs for the Sri Lankan side.
The only thing I'll say to that is Thisara Pereira will bat number 7. So do you need another batsman at number 8? I mean, Pradeep I like, but I'm not a big fan of having 5 seamers. They'd be hoping that it really seams around or decks around all 100 overs.
Right. Maybe take Udana out. He's inexperienced, not a great record. If you really want to,
that's the change that they could have perhaps made if they had to get Pradeep in. And like Dilshan said, you know, get someone like a Sirivardhana who offers a bit of both. I don't necessarily feel that increasing the batting might help, but the right personnel, I think, might have made the difference.
Okay, talking about right personnel, that takes me nicely to the playing 11 of the Afghanistan team, and they have made no changes, as I mentioned right at the start. I'll get your thoughts, Ajit, on that. One change that everyone expected, because again, batting's been their issue. Bring in that former captain, Asghar Afghan, make it a bit stronger than it was before. They haven't done that.
Again, you look at the balance of the team. I don't think, the one thing I like about, you know, they show so much heart, this team. They were 100 for 5 against Australia, top order, sort of blown away, still managed to get to over 200. So there were a couple of scores that they got from their batsmen. So one game you don't want to make too many changes, and it's a good toss to win as well. So while you'd think that maybe they could bolster their batting, at the moment I think they feel comfortable with the batters that they have. Someone like a Rashid Khan down the order can bat, contribute. So you don't necessarily want to increase that part of your game. I think, you know, in one game you shouldn't start worrying too much. I think this is the team that has perhaps got them success in recent times, and maybe give guys who've played there another go and see where they're at.
Right, so Sri Lanka have gone one way, brought in that fast bowler. They've resisted the temptation of Afghanistan. Mujib isn't out. Many were expecting Mujib goes out, maybe bring Aftab Alam, the fast bowler, in. They've stuck to the bowler that got him wickets. I can just remember the last time in Asia Cup, picked up 2 wickets for them, Afghanistan versus Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good bowling lineup. You look at Gulbuddin Naib, who picked up a wicket in the last game. You look at Hamid Hassan, Daulat Zadran. These guys are good options for Afghanistan in terms of pace options, and you add Rashid Khan, Mohammad Nabi and Mujibur Rahman. I think you know, I've been pushing Afghanistan to be a little more bold, jump out of their comfort zone.
You would like Mujib out?
Well, what I'm saying is I would like to see a little more in terms of specialist batsmen there. They've always played a type of game with all-rounders, you know, persons who can bat a bit, who can bowl a bit and give options. I'd like to see them jump out of their comfort zone.
So would you have then wanted Asghar Afghan?
I think Asghar Afghan would have been a good option. Yes, I'm suggesting Mujibur Rahman to make way for him, because you look at the last game, he didn't even bowl 5 overs a lot of other bowlers bowling ahead of him.
Okay.
Do you play him as a specialist spinner in seamer-friendly conditions? I think you also need to put a high weighting to the conditions in which you're playing and not just play a player because of his reputation.
Right.
So that is what I advocate, and I think the teams which have been bold in terms of their decision making and playing the right players for the right conditions, those are the teams which have gone on to win matches in this World Cup so far.
All right.
I mean, could be one of the reasons with the left-handers that Sri Lanka have, that they've retained Mujib in this lineup. I mean, otherwise you'd think with a green pitch you look at it going differently to 3 spinners, but I think it's the left-handers that might have played a part.
All right, completely contrasting thought process there from both the teams. We've seen Sri Lanka make one change, bring in that fast bowler Enu and Pradeep, but Afghanistan have stuck to the same team that they played versus Australia. We'll take a short break on the show. Plenty more coming up on the other side. See you then.
When Sri Lanka won the World Cup in 1996, a special Air Lanka flight landed in Lahore to fly the heroes back. The captain of the flight was Sunil Wetamani, the opening batsman from Lanka's 1975 and 1979 World Cup squads, who became a commercial pilot after his cricket career ended. Some people have all the talent.
Want to do something easier? Play Cricket Picks, the new prediction.
Welcome back to ESPN Cricinfo Match Day. We're building up to that game between Afghanistan and Sri Lanka. Game number 7 in this ICC Cricket World Cup. Let's now go across to T Dilshan, still with us. Dilshan, listening to some comments from Lasith Malinga before this game started, and he came out and said that, you know, we've seen this trend now with the Sri Lankan team in the last year or so. We keep losing a match and then we say it's just one loss, we'll improve. But that improvement isn't happening. Are you thinking this senior statesman that you've got in the team, someone like Malinga, is now beginning to lose patience with the rest of the team members?
I think as a team members should discuss what we are going to do further this tournament rather than what happened in the past matches discussing. I think is now they can't discuss what happened past. Everything we have to forget now. Now whoever doing a mistakes, they are doing same mistake last past 6 months to 1 year. But this is not time to discuss what they are doing mistakes. Now everyone should take hands up and do their job. I think I'm not agree with Lasith what happened in the press conference, but everyone should head up and continue this tournament. Just start the tournament. We have another 8 games. This is one of the good opportunity to start this tournament. If you put runs on the board, put two points in the table, I think from there we can carry forward. I think what happened past, everything we have to forget about. All the whatever do mistakes should correct and go forward from today.
All right, Dilshan, thanks so much for your thoughts. Just to let our viewers know who didn't know what happened in that press conference, Lasith Malinga was asked about this continuous poor run that Sri Lanka have had in the recent past, and he was of the opinion that the players really need to feel hurt. They need to be affected by defeats, and that's what is not happening at the moment. We keep talking about, oh, we've lost just one match, we'll improve from there, but that improvement isn't coming. That is something that Sri Lanka really needs to work on, and those were his thoughts. I'm afraid that's all the time that we have for you, all of you watching us on TV in the Caribbean. We'll have to wrap up our show for the moment. Thanks so much for joining us, Dilshan, Ajit, Agarkar, and Daren, Ganga. We'll now see you in the mid-inning show. All right, but for our viewers on our digital platform, stay on. We could still carry on our conversation with Ajit and Daren. Ajit, I'll come to you on that one. I mean, it can happen in a team. Someone like Lasith Malinga, so accustomed to winning. Even he was part of those Sri Lankan teams that would do rather well. It's not really happening for them. Dilshan was of the opinion that he wouldn't have liked Malinga to have spoken the way he did. But you can imagine where he comes from at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's obviously very instinctive that it's happened, that he's gone to a press conference and spoken his mind. I like to keep it in-house. I'd rather have people speaking in the dressing room, but it's an individual's call. I think eventually the team has got to discuss. He's a senior player, like you mentioned. He's had so much success over the years playing for a good team that it must be hurting somewhere, and maybe that's the reason that it's come out. I'm not a big fan of speaking things in press conferences. I think dressing rooms it's a special place where you try and keep as much as you can in-house. Maybe at the end of the tournament, when there's a little bit of post-mortem done, you can be as honest as you can. Otherwise, these things sometimes is nicer to be in the dressing room.
But just knowing how sharp Lasith Malinga is could be very well a ploy, fire his teammates up. We've seen this happen with Pakistan. They've come up with a better performance. Who knows with Sri Lanka?
Well, Pakistan made some changes to the initial team coming into this World Cup. I also think you've got to take into consideration that this Sri Lankan team and the players and the complement of players, they've been playing for a long while for Sri Lanka, and the results are not changing. So that could create the frustration that we're seeing from Lasith Malinga. In this World Cup only, the Sri Lankan team is the oldest in terms of average age, 30.5. Afghanistan, the youngest. So that could have athletic implications. But again, you expect with a senior team and a team of players who've played a lot of one-day international cricket, you expect them to have, good sort of experience, skill sets as well, because they've played for a while and playing amongst each other, you expect that they will find the combination and the formula by now. That has eluded this Sri Lankan team, and that is what Lasith Malinga is probably
also to do with the
for.
quality that they have at the moment. Unfortunately, it's not as good as they would like, or maybe the younger players haven't developed or gone on to become as good as they would have liked in the last 2 or 3 years. It's a tough one. That's why some of the leaders need to stand up with performances, not just talk.
Athletic repercussions you were talking about, someone try and tell that to MS Dhoni and the team from Chennai Super Kings. They seem to do rather well in the shorter format. Okay, we'll take a look at how these two teams have performed. We're seeing in 2018, we saw them play in the Asia Cup, and that was a match that Afghanistan won. And this is in 2015, the 2015 encounter between Afghanistan and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka winning this particular match. Tilakratne Dilshan was there. They won by 4 wickets. Dilshan is still with us. Memories of that match, and also would you say that Afghanistan team versus this Afghanistan team, this is going to be a tougher sort of a battle for your boys there in Cardiff?
I think it's a good challenge. I think this is a test for us. I think we have to play our best cricket to beat Afghanistan. I think it's their past, so 6 to 1 year, they are doing really well. But we have to play our best cricket. Our potential, Sri Lankan way, if you played our way, we can beat Afghanistan. I think this is a good time as a team, as a unit, together do their performance, all 3 departments. If they do all 3 departments, we can beat Afghanistan and go forward from today.
All right, that was the last World Cup encounter between these two teams that Sri Lanka won. We'll show you when Afghanistan won. That was the last one-day encounter between these two teams. That happened in 2018. And you have to look at that margin of victory for Afghanistan at 91 runs. We don't have the full scorecard. Daren, coming to you on this one. The 3 spinners were the record-in-chiefs. All of them picking 2 wickets apiece, which is why they've gone in with the team that they have.
I made mention of that. Also, you've got to take into consideration that match was played in the UAE. So conditions there favor the spinners.
A little bit less grass.
Exactly, less grass and less lateral movement for the seam bowlers. I think, what this Afghanistan team has shown, it's shown that it's following a similar pathway of development to what we saw from Bangladesh. Bangladesh would have qualified for World Cup as an associate member from the onset. And boy, they've developed as a team. Now they are a formidable unit. They just had the better of South Africa in a very important World Cup match. The progress that we've seen from Afghanistan and the pride coming out of Afghanistan, that has driven a generation of cricketers, and it will drive a generation of cricketers to come. So I expect to see a competitive Afghanistan team. They're playing in a World Cup, and they still have a lot to prove. And you can see that in their fight, their determination in that match against Australia. Yes, they went on to score just in excess of 200, but they fought tooth and nail when they bowled. Yes, they're limited in skills, but you will continue to see this Afghanistan team developing, and maybe you will see a surprise in this World Cup from them, beating maybe one of the more reputable teams in world cricket.
Could that start today then for Afghanistan? We'll have to wait and watch. But for the moment, if you're enjoying watching the World Cup and you're enjoying our coverage here on ESPN Cricinfo, we're just adding another dimension to it. You could also participate, make your own prediction. This is a game that we've got going on our website. It's called Cricket Picks.
Put your tipping to the test. Play Cricket Picks, the new predictor game from ESPN Cricinfo. Make predictions and track your progress throughout the tournament. The easiest thing you'll do all day. Go to espncricinfo.com/cricketpicks and play today.
All right. What are the predictions of our experts here, in-house expert? And you've got Afghanistan, plenty going for Afghanistan in Graham Swan, Murli Kartik.
I want to switch actually.
You want to, that was going to be my question. You've gone with Sri Lanka. Ajit and Daren, both are experts here, sitting here in the studio. You have time? You want to change?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Afghanistan today.
What's prompted that? What the
Sri
first
Lanka has
match?
never won in Cardiff.
That's true. That's true. 5 one-day matches, 1 test match. They've lost all.
No, look, I mean, you think that Sri Lanka have their best day. They should beat Afghanistan, but at the moment, I think Afghanistan just have a little bit more confidence. Have won a great toss, and if they bowl well, I don't think they'll have too many to chase.
Yeah, the toss might be, I would say, instrumental in the outcome of this game, but I'll stay with Sri Lanka.
Stay with Sri Lanka. Okay. Someone would be rather happy to hear that. Dilshan still with us. We didn't have your prediction, unfortunately, on that screen, but you're free to make one now. Dilshan, who are you going for?
I think it's, we can if you bat well, we can beat Afghanistan easily. I think it's, as a batting unit should try to bat all 50 overs rather than putting any target. Now we have 5 seam bowlers. I think we can depend any total if we bat well first 50 overs.
All right, interesting that Dilshan there says that if they bat 50 overs, they will win, because this is exactly what Gulbadin Nayak, the captain of Afghanistan, said before this match. If our team bats 50 overs, we're going to win this particular encounter. That's all that we have for you. But before we leave you, here's just a reminder that international cricket's biggest event is here. So don't just listen to us. Discuss every match, get your friends together and hash it out. No, not here. Invite your friends on Hotstar to watch and play and discuss voices of your opinions and trash talk with your friends. It's like, your own social circle, purely for cricket with watch and play. No friend is too far. Thanks so much for joining us on our coverage. You are watching ESPN Cricinfo Matchday UK 2019.